Hello, 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 testing. One, two, three. Testing those levels. Do I hear things? Let's see. Oh, hey. I do. All right. Hi, everybody. Oh, look at my hair. Yikes. It is what it is. It's Sunday morning. Sunday morning, maybe Sunday afternoon for you East Coasters. Let's play some music. All right. I'm going to check the volume over here. Let's play some music. All right. I'm going to check the volume over here. It looks good. The Diablo 2 soundtrack. One of my favorite soundtracks. It's making this seem a little bit more epic than it is. Let it chill out a little bit, huh? Let me see here. It's gonna be good. What about the Celeste soundtrack? I hear good things. Yeah. All right. We'll jam with the Celeste soundtrack. I've got my Sunday morning tea. And let's do some design work. Ooh, it's still very, very hot. Whew. Careful. Still very hot. So, we're doing some work on Playtoo. It's being called Playtoo now, not GamerLink. Turns out somebody totally had GamerLink as a name. Actually, let's go look at that. Gamerlink.gg. So they had a very similar idea to what we had initially. They have taken a bit of a different approach here. Oh, wow. The soundtrack really picked up. I was not expecting it to get so intense. And let's see. Let's see what my chill playlist has to say. Anyway. So their idea was very similar, but I think like fundamentally different. Like this GamerLink thing is optimizing for looking for groups, and we're less interested in looking for groups and more interested in getting two people to like personally connect. And so this is interesting, but not really worth referencing much. So we're just going to kind of keep forward with our plan. As you can see here, one of the next things we need to start doing is our sign-in experience for desktop. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm moving that to in progress. And let's recap some of the stuff that we have done. Specifically, we have the header that we have pretty laid out here. You can see I have my layout toggled on in this particular artboard. Right now, I'm trying this sort of center align logo. I don't know how I feel about it, but it's it's not a standardized best practice, but I aesthetically really enjoy the center aligned header. And yeah, this is actually a new development since the last time you guys were here too. So let's open this up and just be able to show it to you. This is the Playtoo logo, which is kind of fun. Actually, this is not the Playtoo logo. Playtoo logo is semi-bold. That's what I get for not saving. Um, but these forms, they're both reminiscent of a video game pad of sorts, but it's also heavily inspired by the Matisse cutouts. So these a lot more not perfect, like you see here in these curves, not perfect, but organic feeling shapes with overlap. And the overlap was initially created with transparency layers and then sampled out so that they could always be baked in no matter what the background. But I'm really genuinely excited about this brand. I think it's really bold, and I think it's really clean, and I think it's, kind of says what it does really well. And here we have the color palette, which has been developed since last time we were together. So these colors are very directly inspired by Matisse himself, and a lot of the colors that he has used in past projects. And then you can say the thing that I'm least sure about here is the beige. I think it's a utilitarian color, and I think it has to be used sparingly to be effective. But the beige could be really, really interesting if applied right. And you can see here, I think these colors look particularly good on the beige, but if we duplicated them out and ended up putting them on something that was a little bit more neutral, I think it still works. It comes off as a little colder, whereas this is a little friendlier and warmer, but genuinely, that's where we are, and I think it's a good place to be. And we should point out, this is very important, that there's a variation. And these variations, why don't we take them? We're going to bring them into the other document. Get all these things on artboards. So line these. This is not now. I'm just getting into maintenance, right? These are a little bit too big. I'm big into organizing my artboards and having them pretty tidy. In fact, this height here is gonna plague me forever. So maybe I'll just take all these. Just go ahead and center all these. There we go. Ha. And you're gonna see me. A lot of people have asked this question. You're gonna see me use this keyboard shortcut, and I wish there was some way for me to show you. This is so too distracting for my. Sorry. I need something. Here we go. Perfect. So you're going to see me use this shortcut multiple times. On a Mac, it is Command, Option, Control. and then X or Y. And those are actually mapped to a plugin I have called Automate. It's my favorite sketch plugin. You can see here if I go to plugins, Automate, and then arrange, and then you see here tile objects by position X and Y. I wish there was a way for me to zoom in on that better for you, but tile objects by position X and Y essentially say if I hit this keyboard command, I can automatically space these things out based on a distinct value. So I'm not doing it by smart guides, I'm not doing it by memory or anything like that. In fact, I can change it on the fly, so I can select a group of things, smash it with the X, and the reason why I mapped it to X and Y, obviously the two axes. And I'm going to say give me 80 pixels apart, and boom, very easy, right? So here I'll do these Y and make them 120 apart. Right, and now these are out of alignment. So now this is a little closer to being tidy in a way that I think is acceptable. Now those are centered. This should be. Ooh. Let's group this and make sure it's centered in its space. And let's start calling these things what they are. So this is the Playtoo color palette. This is Playtoo logo vertical light. I know. Playtoo logo horizontal blue. Playtoo logo horizontal light. And this is the Playtoo logo horizontal dark. And the reason why there's all these variations, pretty obvious. But should I want to use this logo on different backgrounds, I want to understand what it's doing. And you'll notice some of the details that change here is while the blue has swapped out here, I did not change the overlap colors, even though if I was still using transparency modes, that is exactly what would happen. I wanted to keep that consistent across them all, even though I think it's a little bit more pronounced here. And this right here is a bit of a visual trick. I'm going to pull off 2 copies so we can talk about this more specifically. But you can see here that these logos look very similar to each other. But if you go and you take this logo and put it up here, you see that there's a very different color blue. And so for the dark background, the darkest color, the blue, has been adjusted up. Hey, Yannick, we're going to play some video games today. Hello. I'm typing to you. Thanks for coming and checking this out. So yeah, the darkest value, the blue, has been adjusted up so that people can see it a little bit better. Anyway, we'll delete those and we'll get back to the login flow work. So this is saved. I'm going to minimize this. I'm just going to bring this window up with us. Go back to our first page. So anyway, I wanted to... At first I played around with making this navigation blue, which is why we had the blue alt in the logo. But I think ultimately the blue was limiting in terms of what it could do from a representing multiple colors thing. And then I thought, well, what if we go neutral and dark? I might even consider a beige. I'll look at a beige one eventually. But if we go neutral and dark, then I would have the ability to pull in the logo colors into highlight states for sections that you're in. So I'm excited about that. And you can see here, this could potentially be, it's kind of a first draft of a user profile where somebody has their avatar and a username, some tags that describe them, I think, through like a very specific way of thinking, right? Some people are like to be goofy when they get together and play video games together. Some people just want to have a really relaxed, chill, quote unquote, experience. Some people prefer the warrior and the mage, and that could be a big difference in who you end up playing video games with. And then finally, some people love to role play in the not kinky way. But instead, they really want to take on the character and be a part of the world and feel a part of the fiction. So they behave in ways that are indicative of that. So here, the username, the recently played games, all games played, and you can see as we move on to edit profile, what we're able to do with a neutral color header is to essentially be able to palette swap what our active and secondary palette looks like, depending on the section you're in. Now, it might be that because these two things are profile based, they have to be the same color in the end, as we had done our games list previously. But I think this is generally a good direction. So let's get into something a little bit more fun with our login flow. I'm going to just rip off a copy of the application header to start. And I want the login flow to feel really warm. So I'm going to go here and start with our beige. I can't believe it. Can't believe I'm using beige. I'm going to turn on my layout just so I can see my guides. A little froggy. His tea. Okay. So, I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. And I'm going to leave a couple columns on either side. It's not super important for this to be centered. I'm going to make it white. And then I'm actually going to come over here. I'm going to rip off a copy of the profile edit because that has examples of form fields and stuff that I want to borrow. And I'm going to say, if this is our header style, we'll say login up there. We'll show our layout. Let's see what we're working with here. Yeah, this is a little bit strange. So we're going to start with maybe aligning all this stuff. There we go, 2, 3 columns. Let's see what happens if I pull this thing to just be a little bit wider. We're going to do an email address. I'm going to space this 12. Part 12 feels a little loose. That's a good question, chat. So right now we are working on, I will go back to our Trello just to very quickly recap what's going on. So we are working for the wireframing sign-in experience for desktop for this app called Playtoo. I know I should find some way to post this in some space where people can see it persistently. But we have to have the ability for a user to sign in to this service. And the service is a way for video game players to meet people that they want to play with. So yes, if new people come in, if anyone needs a Premiere, I'm going to type this out. Context or info. Don't be afraid to ask. So thank you. I assume that's David. Thank you, David, um, for the reminder there. So we're gonna come over here and try. I think 6.5 is a little bit better. And of course, a password. And the padding on the left and right just feel way too tight to me, so let's blow it out. That feels a little strange too. I guess it's not if it's really big. Huh. I don't know how to feel about this. I think it needs to be this wide. And then if these are 3 columns, but just like centered in the 4-column space, so be it. You know, I think that aesthetically looks better and more like a login form. I think I'm also gonna I've been playing with the Matisse inspired look, and I've been trying to really round things in a way that I think feels more organic, and in this case very exaggerated, right? So let's see what happens when we put a 16. Yeah, see, and 16 is exactly what these form fields are for roundedness, so it kind of feels a little bit more matching. I can be as daring as 32. Let's see what doubling it does. I kind of like that, you know? So maybe we're going to try something like that. Password, and then of course, we'll do our various accoutrements. We need a login button. Come up here. We're gonna need a close button, which I think we have already somewhere. I don't see it. So I'm gonna make a box. I put 32 rounding on it. Whoa, that's weird. Let's try 24. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like these things to feel chunky and not necessarily like one potential concern for me is that it skews a little young, but hopefully in execution it ends up feeling a little bit more sophisticated than immature. Yeah, see, I think things like these 1-pixel stroke icons is a good contrast for, you know, if it looks too round, if it looks too friendly. It's a good way of looking at it. It looks like Guzman in the chat wants to know, is it Guzman or Guzman? Anyway, you can. There's a delay, so you can correct me in the future. But he wants to know what program this is. This is Sketch. It's the program I do most of my current wireframing and design in for web and apps. And I use it for just about everything that's not like really detailed vector graphics or organic sort of really photo editing in Photoshop. So, we need a couple things, right? This is not perfect. Let's get some right align text here. And not bold. Why don't we do medium? The bold and the medium. And these will be links. So why don't we do links in blue? And we'll do this button here, also in blue. hide password. This is show. I will say forgot. Let's actually use forgot here. I'm bringing our body text, and you notice I'm reusing as much as I can, right? If you don't have, forgive all my typing. An account? Great one. So I take this and let's put it in our link blue. And I actually think in context it needs to be a little bit more aggressive. That. Oh no. Come on, let me highlight just that. Ah, of course. Sketch has gone back and forth on this setting, and I'm not sure why. So now I'm going to have 2 text boxes here. It's pretty lousy. Pretty lousy. Now it's my job to keep these aligned at the base. So why don't we do the same here? If these are regular, let's not go to medium, let's go regular. And then let's also... Why don't we go up to 16 here? And so the reason why I just made that adjustment is you probably saw me do it very quickly, but I didn't explain myself. I clicked on these. I checked what their size was. It was 16. I figured this is a good opportunity to eliminate a font size on the page. We already have, 3? 1, 2, 1, 2, and then whatever the entered text is. So, yeah, if you can, let's not get too crazy with our font size. I'm going to just group these so they're treated as one object. And we'll say these are 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24 apart. That feels pretty good. I'll bring this up here. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 44. Which is a typical touch target size. And so this is another way that I size things in Sketch. Is I will take something and I will bring it to the object bounds so that I know that they end in the same place. And then I will add height to it. In this case, we'll add 60. So I know it's exactly 60 more than that. So we're going to do the same thing up here, right? Let's make sure these are spaced out. I'll group these the way I want as well. So this is right on top of email address. We'll also do the same 44. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's me holding down Shift and pressing up on the arrow keys. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not holding down Shift, and that's 44 pixels away. So if I bring this to the top here, right? Now we're at the bounds. We'll add 60 to that. It added it to the bottom. That's what Sketch does, but you can go ahead and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's right, David. We're making a login screen. I know it's it's pretty dry. But pretty necessary. I think I'm going to just take this control and just like kick it out of, you know, I don't want to. I set that as 32 by 32. I'm going to select this and just sort of make sure that we have guides snapping to it. The same thing with these. And this kind of like lets me make sure everything is centered down. So, I don't know if anybody's been watching Sergio, but his username is Sergio Chinos on Twitch, or S Chinos. And he's been streaming a lot of the development work here. I'm going to group all these things and apply an additional style in a moment. Centering, center. But one of the things that he and I had talked about is perhaps doing a login system where there is no username and password. So we're going to explore some of that too, because I'm sure that I'm forgetting some stuff here. But the next thing I want to do is you notice here on this button, there's actually a hard drop shadow. Yeah, drop shadows, baby. We're bringing them back. We're taking them back. So I'm going to take this shadow and I'm going to turn off the blur. And actually make it a more harsh drop shadow, and then I'm going to take it to, say, like 8 down. That might be a little bit too much, but I think it sells it pretty well. Why don't we go down to 6? And then take the shadows and bring that down to 25%, which is what the button is. And I think the point is here, let's go to view and turn off rulers for a second. Trying to create a general style that feels, I think, honest and unique to this particular application. Let's put on the shadow here too, just so we can experience that. Turn off the blur and see how it works for floating elements. 25%. Yeah, I think, like, honestly, it's creating uniqueness that really works well for me, that I think is a style that not a lot of people are playing with. So you can see here the hard drop shadows. It almost like is worrisome. This is an older technique, but I think that is. Let's see, and I missed an opportunity to bring it to incorporate it here. Let's do the same thing. It's a technique that I think is worth it because it's creating a lot of physical layers, right? And if we go and we look at some work by Matisse, you can see here his work is very by hand, right? It feels extremely made in a way that I think is very good and cool. Now, he's not dealing with a lot of drop shadow stuff here, but his stuff was physical, so it was hanging in galleries and therefore had a lot of depth to it. And I think that that's the, here we go. Here's a great example of just the physicality of the space, right? These things have to hang. These things have to be raised off of walls. And right now, I feel like we're kind of in a no man's land between, like, material design and something that Matisse, or at least a color palette Matisse would have considered. So I'm going to have to work to, like, incorporate that style a little bit better. But anyway, we're going to do one more version of this login screen, and then we're going to go and attempt to add a little craziness, a little style to these things. So, one of the things that we wanted to try, and this login screen, I'm not sure if it's complete. I have the feeling like I'm missing something. So, Also, for example, we want to do something for placeholder text. So this is what it looks like in this scenario versus if I rip off a copy and, say there's an error. We'll have to extend some of this up. Ooh. That was nice, but not intended. Let's click off. So the reason why I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this very next thing is, number one, I just don't think we're going to go for the login-based flow. But it is worth noting. That you want to be able to say something to the user like, "You didn't recognize that password. Recognize? Did I do that right? I did. That password. Try again, or use the forgot link to reset it." And since this is an error, we'll be a little bit more aggressive about it. And I'm personally of the mind where you should put errors as close to the form field as you can. So even if that means pushing the button down. I think something like that works fairly well. In terms of error states, you always got to remember to handle all your error states and catch all the scenarios that users can find themselves in. And so this is all grouped again, and yeah, you see. So the thing is becoming taller. Maybe initially it starts taller just so you can account for those things. But the other thing that we wanted to try was the sort of login-less flow. And that is create an account. And we're going to go, I'm just going to hide these because I might need them later. We're going to say choose a service. And so now we're getting into it. Now we're getting into some stuff. I'm going to take this button style and bring it over here. Bring my rulers back. I need them. Ah, there they are. I can tell already that I'm not going to like this. But, but we'll see. Steam. PlayStation. Network. Xbox Live. I'm going to ungroup these. And honestly, I'm probably going to left align them. I'm going to take, how tall are they? 68. Probably, we don't need to be 68. Why don't we take everything and make it 64? I'm trying to work in, semi-even numbers here. Then we'll come over here. And I'm going to duplicate all three of these rectangles. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I'm going to take their height and their width, and I'm going to change the width to be 64 as well. So I'm going to make them matching. They're perfect squares. And so why are you doing that, Ryan? Good question. Now we're going to start taking these 3 text boxes and making sure that they're aligned to that 64. I'm going to push them up by 12. So I'm going to hold down Shift, right? That's 1. 1, 2 more taps is 12. Then I'm going to color these so we can see them a little bit better, right? And now I want to kind of make a Matisse version of some of these logos. So why don't we go and get some reference from the internet? And so this is our, I think this is like the high level goal, right? This or something in here, something that feels organic, but like and hand cut. So let's go out and get some service logos. So we'll do Xbox logo. Great start. Even better. So I'm gonna just copy this image and paste it into here. Whoa! Here, why don't we do this on a new artboard altogether? Steam logo. Yeah, this looks like the one. Copy image. Everybody puts them in circles. That's interesting. PSN logo. PlayStation. Copy image. Okay. Now that we have these 3 on here, we're going to take their opacity and dial them back. They're all about sized to be similar. That's a little too big now. Bless you. We're going to take them down to 20%. So they're almost see-through. I'm going to take them and I'm going to lock them here. So here's our artboard over here on the left. If you can see, it's right near my face. It was down there. I think that works. I can't say a preview of myself. But I'm locking those 3 layers. And then we're going to kind of make Matisse hand cut out versions of them. Right? So why don't we also take our Matisse imagery for inspiration. Copy this image. We'll just make it small and put it up here. We'll take this one too. So it seems like we can do kind of straightish lines, right? Scissors and stuff or X-Acto knives could create those lines. But now we're going to attempt to sort of make our own versions of them. I'm going to do this mostly with the pen tool. And this is almost going to be a trace job. But it's going to be a little bit more by hand. I want to know what the V. Yeah, that's good. And so what I'm doing, I'm tapping V on my keyboard, right? And I'm just making sort of I don't really like that curve, but we'll fix it. back in. Select this curve and really sort of edit the Bezier. Have it. Same thing up here. This doesn't feel refined. Like what Matisse was doing, I think, was not haphazard. And I haven't studied his work enough to be able to tell you exactly his thought pattern or have contextualized it, but yeah, I'm not happy with this curve either, but we'll come in here and we'll delete. Why don't we delete this one too, just to see. Now we're going to take all these and color them in to our green. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's a little closer to what we want, right? So first, what we're doing is we're setting a border around here. And then we're going to go and I'm actually going to cheat. I'm going to duplicate this. And just so it's a little harder to see the symmetry. Just doing some rotation. And it's okay to be uneven here. Overlapping these shapes. The same thing, we're going to do some overlap over here too. Trust me on that one. When I say trust me, I mean we're going to come over here and double click this vector. And edit it to be a little bit more what we want. Alright, so now all of our paths are here. Let's get into doing some adding and subtracting with Sketch. So first, all of this, unify it. This is interesting. We're going to take this and this, and we're going to subtract it up here. So David's asking in the chat if this program is better than Photoshop or Illustrator. I don't think it is better or worse. It's different. And what I mean by that is it has vector capability, so it's resolution independent. No matter what size the stuff's going to go, it's going to scale, right? So it has that power of Illustrator. It has got really great layout tools that Photoshop does not have. Like, again, you saw the plugin where I'm spacing things apart. It has pretty reliable smart objects like Photoshop does and Illustrator can't have, like in their symbols. And then finally, it's got really cool stuff that we haven't discussed yet, which are shared styles, where you can sort of have text layers or something, and from a drop-down say, hey, this is a header, hey, this is a link, and use the shared styles across multiple documents and share styles with an entire team of people. So that becomes really, really powerful, especially in the workplace. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to combine it as well. And so we're missing our key little cutout here. And we're going to try and get that back by taking it. So in our combined shape, it's a little hard, but look in down near me, down over here. Our combined shape is here. And I'm going to turn it red just so we can see it. Okay. And now we're going to take our combined shape. And what we want to do is rescue the, excuse me, the curve that we had made inside, right, to look like the Steam logo. So that is this path. I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag it up. Okay, so now we can see this whole thing is one solid object. And now we have, of course, this might drive your eyes crazy. Whoa. This outside object too. I'm going to take this object. I'm going to shift, select this object. And then we're going to see if this works. I'm going to say subtract. Okay. It generally did work, but we have a couple of adjustments to do. So let's get in here and dial in some of these details. The first is I'm kind of hovering my mouse over each path until I see it. And now another good way to do this would be name all your paths correctly, Ryan. Yeah, good point. But I'm going to hover until I see the outline of what I want. Yeah, that is going to come up, and that is going to union. Great. Now, the same thing. Find this. That is going to union. So now we have our Steam cutout. And a little bit more by hand. And honestly, this PlayStation logo already looks like something Matisse would have done, which is really cool. Why don't we take the Steam one and we'll change it to a steamy black. I'm going to take these 4 Xbox things. I think I'm going to attempt to take these curves out. It's just a little too much for me. Yeah, that looks a little bit more honest. If anything, the Steam one is too close. So let's go in and yeah, kind of juxtapose it a little bit. And you're making this choice to give it a little bit more personality, right? It still has to look like the logo of the service, but a little bit more by hand. I think I overcorrected just a little bit too much. I'll just... Yeah, that's good. And so we'll do one more, which is our PlayStation. I think the best thing to do is, why don't we just start with the Steam shape. Press V, go into pen mode. What we're trying to do here is we're just trying to make it human. right? Like these things often look like a computer made them. Well, because a computer did, right? Why don't we kill that one and just bring this over? So we'll take these three shapes. We'll union. That combines them into one thing. I'll take them with the big shape, and we'll subtract them. And why don't we color them PlayStation blue? And now, we will hide our three initial bitmaps. And that's pretty good. Again, I think this was maybe a little bit of an overcorrection. It's more important to get that sort of hand there. Man, the PlayStation logo feels really close, doesn't it? I think the best thing to do is to make it a little less even. Alright, some of these lines are so perfect. Yeah, that actually goes a long way, I think. Alright, so now we have these three. They just are all called combined shape. So I'm going to rename them. We're going to call it Xbox, Steam, PlayStation. And then we're going to scale them. So we're going to scale them all to be a like shape. The scale here is we're going to just go 64 tall on all of them. I know what you're saying, Ryan. Whoa, that's way smaller, but yeah, that's more of a normal size. And now we're going to take all three of them and we're going to turn them into symbols. And this is like what I had said before for the chat. Symbols essentially allow us to place these things anywhere, and then when we change them, they change them everywhere, right? So if I make like a bunch of different PlayStation things, and then I come in here and I say, you know, the PlayStation is actually going to have a big red square over it or something. That happens on all of them. And you can see over here in our pages up at the top left of the interface that symbols is its own sort of page. I'll get rid of all these. Copy these. And paste them here. You can see they're a little too big. I'm going to select all three. I just made them hard to select. And Command, Option, Control, Up. Command, Option, Control, Up sends everything to the top. But now I'm actually going to color these in our color palette. I'm going to bring them down to 32. I think the Steam one looks really good. I don't know about the other two. When we go in, here's our three symbols. Let's make them a little closer together. Why don't we make alternate versions of them? And I'm going to hold down Option and just drag out copies. I'm going to make them all white. Oh no, I can't see them. Here, I'll select the artboards And just turn on background color. Well, then shame on me, I didn't name them. I know this is the boring stuff, but this is the stuff that helps you in the long run. I'm going to call it Xbox Lite, Steam Lite. And it's good to have both copies. Like, notice I didn't just change the ones I had. It's good to have both because that's going to get you flexibility down the line in case you need to swap these things out. Alright, I'm going to say replace with symbols Xbox Lite. Replace with symbols PlayStation Lite. Replace with symbols Steam Lite. And now the Steam one could actually be adjusted down to be our darker gray that we have in our palette. That's kind of cool. Why don't we see our medium colors on each? That's our medium green. Our medium blue. I still think you need to go dark with the gray. And we'll do the same thing here. Either we could apply the 3 colors. Nope. These things are grouped together. Now here's something else that's cool about Sketch, and we'll kind of close it here because this is potentially a good stopping point. We did a lot today. Let's see how long the stream's been going. The stream has been going for, holy cow, over an hour. So we did a lot today, even though we did a little, and that is the way of this job. But I like where we ended up. I think this is a cool way of looking at these icons and these services. It feels a little true to what Matisse was doing with his cutouts and his colors and that stuff back in the day. I think there's even a version of this where we get really funky and do like a yellow Xbox on top of a green background just for like a really cool punchy effect. But I think the place that we're at here is usable. The last thing I want to show you guys, if you're not familiar with Sketch, is some of the power it has to do some resizing. So if you're a Sketch expert, tune out now. But if you're not, this might be interesting to you. And that is, we can take groups, right? So this text, this icon, this box, and this outer box. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. I'm going to group them with Command G. And it turns it into a group. And I'm going to do this same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, group. 1, 2, 3, 4, group. So now these are all in a group. And then we have a group of this header, this box, and these 3. Okay? So groups and groups and groups and groups. But they're all pretty tidy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up and I'm going to go into each of these groups. So I'm going to double click and double click again. And so for here, for this Xbox Live word, I'm going to say fix the height, pin it to the left. For this box, I'm going to say fix the height, pin it to the left and right. For this icon, I'm going to say fix width, fix height, pin it to the left. This box, fix width, fix height. And you're going to see what all this does in a second. Pin it to the left. Okay, and now I'm going to take this whole group and I'm going to say pin it to the left, pin it to the right. The same thing up here with this header. Pin it to the left, pin it to the right, fix the height. So now, why do we just do all that? It's so, when we're testing this on multiple screen sizes or different devices, if I go to resize this, you see, instead of stretching and breaking stuff, like what would happen in an Illustrator or Photoshop, you get a smart scale. So that button just gets as long or as short as we need it to get, right? Which is really cool and super powerful. So a question is coming in on chat from Guzman, so I'm going to just read this here. David says, would you be able to change the colors of titles when you click on them once it's on the web through this program, or is it plain print program like Photoshop and Illustrator? Yeah, so the answer here is this is a tool for generating mockups and wireframes. It does not create HTML. It does actually create CSS, and I can show you that really quick. If you double click on something like a title, you can right click and copy CSS attributes. And so when I'm going to open up Sublime Text, and any old text editor will do, you can paste in, and what you see is you get the CSS values. And of course, you know, if this was on your page, you would call it like title, and have everything wrapped into there. Let's turn on our syntax just so you can see it. So there you go. So it pulls in the fonts for you. It pulls in the font sizes, the colors. Now again, if these fonts aren't included in your web page, yada yada, it's not going to work. But this is a really powerful tool, and it's like way cheaper than a Photoshop or Illustrator subscription. I think it's $100 for a year. It used to be $100 one time, and that's it. But nobody's that lucky anymore, and it's good. I would rather pay for them to do that. So, so we fixed our Xbox Live button. We're gonna come in here and slow it down a little bit and fix the other two buttons and explain what's going on. So, first things first. Let's look at the way that the Steam button was broken. Right, it would just break these icons. So that's where fixing the width and height come in. So I'm double clicking on Steam. I'm going to say this square. When I say fix width and fix height, it means it can't get any shorter. It can't get any more narrow. Same thing with the icon. I want the icon to be the same size, no matter what the size is. As for the word, I'm fixing the height because I don't want it to shrink up and down. I just want it to shrink left and right. So, now that those fixing has been done, well, let's do this outer box too. We'll fix that height. Now that the fixing has been done, we'll see what it does. Okay, so now things are staying the same size, but the word down here and these drop shadows are all kind of smashing into each other. So, let's fix that problem. And the way we do that is to pin things, or kind of use this box, this resizing box. And I'm saying that this button, this big gray box, it's pinned to the left and right, which means it's always going to make an effort to stay as wide as it can, right? This box with the icon in it, that is pinned to the left. So that means no matter what it's resized, it's always going to be on the leftmost edge. This icon, I'm also pinning it to the left. So now when we resize, oops, I'm not resizing the group, I'm just resizing a box. So now we have the drop shadow is not a problem anymore, right? The overlap is not happening. And then finally, we're going to take that word Steam, and we're going to pin that to the left. And what pinning to the left is also doing is it's saying, whatever distance you are from that side, you're going to stay that amount of distance to that side. So now when we resize, you see Steam stays, right? And you can see you can still break it, right? It's not totally like, that looks crazy, but it's much better. So I'm going to just use these same properties and really quickly apply it to PlayStation. Fix height. We're going to fix the height of the box, pin it to the left and right. We're going to take this box, pin it to the left, fix its width and height. Icon, fix that width and height, pin it to the left. It's very easy to see, right? These things are aligned to the left, so of course they're going to be pinned to the left. And so it's not doing something. What didn't we do? Maybe it's just wider. The final step. How could I forget? The group itself. The group itself can be pinned. So I'm going to say pin to the left and right. Without doing that, then it doesn't behave. But now you can see we have something that can be on a more narrow screen. Perhaps this is how it looks on your phone. All the way to... this is hopefully not how it looks on a tablet, but if somebody does load it up on their tablet and that's how it's coded, that's how it could look. Or I could just simply size it back to our original here, left and right, and these guides snap really nicely, and have these buttons. And you can do this with just about anything. It's a really powerful way to manipulate all of your objects in a scene. So, what did we do today? We need a login screen. I'm going to turn off here our rulers. Space these apart by 120. 120 is my favorite spacing. I don't know why. So we have an example here. Really quick before we go, Brooklyn Mustache is asking in the chat, what project is this? This is for Playtoo. It was formerly Gamer Link. It's a way for people to find online friends to play with. And look at this. This is one thing I did not catch. Sign in is what that should say. So we had to make a login form for the service, and we started with a pretty basic one, right? Username, password, that sort of stuff. Links to create an account, links to forgot your password if you need to do that. There probably is more that needs to be here. Again, like terms of service isn't here. There's stuff that is not here, but this is like a skeleton of it. We explored maybe very quickly, too quick, what errors could be or what those could potentially look like. And then finally, we explored a passwordless, or rather accountless based login where you just select your service and that logs you into the account. I think all these three things are valid. And they're interesting ways of looking for your users to log in. But those are the types of things to consider when you're making something like this. Any sort of online application, right? How are people going to actually get in to the damn system? So it's important. After I shut off this stream, I'm going to be naming all these artboards and doing my best to clean up these files. And that's a whole different thing. It's not a huge deal because I'm basically the only person working on this, visually anyway. So that's about where we're at, and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to leave you now, but I really appreciate you coming in and asking questions. Great chat today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.